I believe the Colts are going to go 11-5 in 2020. Last year, all this team needed was a quarterback. And guess what? This year, Indianapolis, they have a quarterback. They brought in Phillip Rivers, the veteran quarterback out of L.A. And I did a whole film analysis on Phillip Rivers, how he played last year. He's a bit of a gambler. He takes risks that I think are often unnecessary. But he also, I have to say, to give him the benefit of the doubt, regularly he was playing from behind. I mean, he had to take risks to try to get his team back into games because his defense was bad last year. And Phillip Rivers is highly capable. I think regardless of how good or not he is, no matter what happens, Phillip Rivers is going to be a ton of fun to watch with the Colts in Indianapolis. I like their head coach, Frank Reich. They have 2 running backs I like. They have Marlon Mack, the starter from last year. They also drafted a stud rookie from Wisconsin in the second round. That is Jonathan Taylor, a guy who at one point was a Heisman favorite even out of Wisconsin. They don't really have a receiving scat back. They have nobody like Austin Eckler, who Phillip Rivers had with the Chargers last year in the last couple of years. I think he's going to miss that skill set, a guy who's a quick kind of scat receiving running back who can catch the ball out of the backfield really well. It makes me wonder if they're going to have a lot of swing passes in their offense. I don't know, because they don't really have a running back that fits that type of thing, and that's something Phillip Rivers has traditionally really loved to do, which is swing the ball out wide to his running backs. Now, I love T.Y. Hilton. I think T.Y. Hilton kind of reminds me actually of, there's a couple guys in the NFL that are very underrated. Now, Tyrod Taylor is criminally underrated. So is T.Y. Hilton. He's an incredible receiver, very technical, on time, polished, does all the little things right, works very hard. But I think regardless of how good T.Y. Hilton is, it's hard to not acknowledge that Phillip Rivers got a downgrade at receiver from last year to this year. He had Keenan Allen and Mike Williams last year. This year, he's got T.Y. Hilton and Michael Pittman, a second-round receiver from USC. Now, I do encourage people, go watch the USC versus Utah game last year. USC had a third-string quarterback playing in that game, and yet somehow Michael Pittman won that game almost by himself. I mean, he many times, over and over again, he beat man coverage. He had crazy jump ball catches where he beat double teams. I mean, Michael Pittman put on a show last year against the University of Utah. So I think it's interesting to watch. How good is Michael Pittman? He's had some drops in training camp. We'll find out. If he turns out to be a star receiver, hey, big win. Phillip Rivers is going to play great, and everything's going to be hunky-dory. As I think Phillip Rivers would say something like that. His vocabulary says, golly, instead of F-bombs. It's kind of fun to watch Phillip Rivers. The Colts also have receiver Paris Campbell out of Ohio State. They have tight end, and that's not recently. He's not a new draft pick. He's been in the NFL for a year or two. They have tight end Jack Doyle. They also have an incredible offensive line in Indianapolis, led by none other than Quentin Nelson, an incredible guard. And for Phillip Rivers, I think this is an incredibly massive and very, very important upgrade. He has a similar receiving core that's maybe not quite as good, but the offensive line in Indianapolis is way, way, way better than he had last year in L.A., and that's a much more important part of their offense than I think receivers are. Phillip Rivers is going to have a field day playing behind this offensive line. The Colts defense is scary. They traded for D-tackle DeForest Buckner, who helped the 49ers get to a Super Bowl last year. They have Darius Leonard, a dominant linebacker. They also have linebacker Bobby Okereke, who I really like. One concern is the Colts secondary, where, Malik Hooker, for example, is a guy who has kind of a reputation for being unreliable back there, guard and defending passes. But their front seven is going to help to alleviate and take some of the pressure off of their secondary. All in all, man, do not overlook the Indianapolis Colts. It's going to be easy to do. They're boring. They run the ball well. Phillip Rivers is kind of largely unknown because he spent most of his career, his entire career so far, with the Chargers down in the corner of the west coast of our country. I am telling you, the Colts are very good. They're going to make a lot of noise this year. I mean, look at week 2, the Colts against the Vikings. That's a game that I think we're going to talk about for a lot of this year. Maybe not, but if you love football, I mean, that game is like a Big Ten game where you have two teams that run the ball really well, Minnesota and Indianapolis. They play great defense. It's seething off of me. I cannot wait to watch the Colts this year. Phillip Rivers, great defense, some interesting schemes on offense. Is Michael Pittman going to work? I don't know. I hope so. I am telling you, the Colts are going to be really, really good this year and a lot of fun to watch.